Here's the brand identity process that took me from charging $500 to up to $5,000 for a client project. This process has been broken down and refined over the last few years, and today I'm going to show you exactly how I've done that. To make this even more practical, I'll walk you through a real-life client project called Ekaya, a yoga and Pilates studio based in Dubai. With this design process, we created a brand identity that was unique, intentional, purposeful, and that reflected the brand's vision. Now, before I begin any project, I make sure to get on a discovery call with the client to make sure their goals and vision are aligned, and I also understand what their needs are. So once the proposal is sent, the client chooses what option they would like, and then I send the contract and invoice. Once the contract was signed and the invoice was paid, I then send them a branding questionnaire. Now, this questionnaire is crucial because it helps me understand everything about the business, the brand's mission, vision, purpose, tone of voice, values, personality. Also in the questionnaire, I ask them about their target audience and who their competitors are, what other designs they like. And the reason I ask the clients for any mood boards they have is because I want to understand how they interpret words. Many times clients share a lot of different keywords, but different people interpret words differently, so it's a really great idea to see what they have in mind before I start the project. After gathering this information, I create my creative direction presentation. As part of my process, I also dig deep into the brand's competitors, analyzing their visual identities. This step ensures that whatever I propose for the client would stand out in their industry. Now, when it comes to gathering information, I like to collect all the types of imagery that I think could work for the brand. It doesn't matter at this point what direction I have in mind, I just like to collect everything. So textures, logo inspiration, packaging inspiration, interiors, fonts, basically anything that sparks an idea, and I save this all in a folder. And then what I do is I zoom out and then I see if there are any groups coming in. Are there any collection of colors that are working together, any combinations that would make for an interesting idea? And slowly I start building out the creative direction. So in the creative direction presentation, I like to propose two directions. So the first direction featured a lovely blue as a primary color, paired with lovely beiges and grays, and this combination was calm, inviting, and joyful. And the second direction leaned into a brighter palette with a bold lilac paired with greens and browns, giving it a dynamic and energetic tone, especially with the orange. To help the client decide which direction to move forward with, I referenced their answers to a key question in the branding questionnaire. What experience do you want your clients to have? And for Ekaya, the answers were about fostering feelings of peace, empowerment, and accomplishment. Ultimately, the client chose direction 1 because it stood out as the most unique look in the competitor space. It reflected Ekaya's calming and joyful personality while remaining approachable and modern. So now that we're done with the creative direction phase, we can now move into logo design. Now, to get me started on logos, I like to start with a word mark first. So what I do is I go on a bunch of different websites and I search all the different types of fonts. I then shortlist 10 or 15 of those fonts that I've seen and I put them onto my Illustrator board. Then I revisit the creative direction and then I match what font would best reflect the brand the best. Also, another way I look at fonts is how they would be as people. So I tend to look at sans serif fonts as someone that's very clean, minimal, sporty. And then when you think of serifs, you think of someone a bit more established, classy, feminine, elegant, and that helps me shortlist what type of fonts I'm going to use for the project. So for Ekaya, the word mark needed to feel approachable, calming, and professional while still reflecting the creative direction. So for direction 1, I decided to go with a lovely sans serif clean font, and I really like the idea of bringing in these Ks and the kick of the K into the other letters. So I brought it into the A, and then I used a soft Y, which was more rounded, to match with the E's and the A's. And I really wanted to explore how we could use the E and make it more playful as an icon. So I was trying to integrate a bit of movement and form into the E. And for the second word mark, I wanted to go with a refined and elegant serif typeface. For the icon, I really like the idea of exploring two ideas and two disciplines. So a yoga and Pilates studio, but at the same time, the founders were two sisters and I wanted to know how I could bring both of their energies and personalities into the brand. So here you can see I've used the circle as a base and then I've kind of cut it in half and experiment with all the different shapes. I also present them in short mockups so the client has an idea of everything comes together, and then I propose option 1 and 2 together. So the clients loved the word mark of option 1. They really felt that there was a lot of playfulness in it, but it still looked very minimal and sleek, and they loved the idea of bringing two disciplines together in the icon option number 2, and they wondered could they be merged together, and absolutely it can. I felt that the icon of option 2 really worked. The roundness matched the roundness of the letters of the E and the A, but they weren't too sure about the word mark, so I had another go at it. So when I looked at the word mark again, their concerns was that the Y was also too playful, so I just went with something that was a bit more straighter and angled. Now when it came to the icon, the client liked the idea of yin and yang, and so I was exploring the shape of that, the curve between it, and seeing how I could integrate that into the existing icon. I also explored a number of different ways of how the icon could be redone, tilted it, angled it up, multiplied it. And then finally, I really fell in love with option A. And then I decided to present that completely to the client, and the client loved it. Now, during this stage, I also present typography options. So these are the different font pairings. And I usually propose 2 or 3 options. So here we have the heading, the subtitle, and the body text. And from here, they loved option 1. Now let's talk about the color palette for Ekaya, which was carefully chosen to achieve 3 key goals. Number 1, evoking the right emotions. Colors are essential for creating the right atmosphere for a brand. Number 2, standing out from competitors. Many wellness brands stick to predictable neutrals. To help Ekaya stand out, we use the primary blue color. This combination feels exciting, sophisticated, fresh, and modern. And number 3, creating contrast and harmony. The palette balances light tones like the blues and grays with deeper shades like the dark teal and brown. Now that we have the word mark confirmed, the icon confirmed, colors and fonts, I present everything in a brand guideline document. This document ensures that the brand stays consistent across all platforms, from digital to print. For Ekaya, it included the identity strategy, logo variations and usage, do's and don'ts for the brand, color pairings and font pairings, mockups showing how the brand works in real life, and during the final presentation, I walked the client through the guidelines. You can see how the brand identity comes together beautifully in their space, from the interiors of the brand to the signage to the logos and all the different touch points in the studio. It feels consistent and peaceful. And this is my brand identity process that has helped Ekaya build a cohesive, consistent, and purposeful brand identity. If you're a designer looking to improve your design process, or if you're a business owner looking to understand more about how brand identities are created, I hope this video gave you some insights. Also, if you'd like to use the exact brand guideline template I use for all my client projects, you can grab it through the link in the description below. This template covers everything from identity strategy and logo variations to color and font pairings, do's and don'ts, and even mockups to bring it all together. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. And if there was any part of the video that you would like me to dive deeper next time, let me know in the comments. I'll catch you in the next video.